Can you scale influence and reach without scaling headcount? Did 2 marketers and a handful of AI agents outperform a 12-person team? Welcome back to What Gets Measured, a NinjaCat podcast about marketing, performance, management, metrics, and effectiveness, because what gets measured gets managed. I'm your host, Jake Sanders. Today on the show, we talk to Colt Briner, the CMO of Trend Health Partners, author of The Race to Relevance, and a Finney Award-winning B2B marketer who's worked with multiple 9-figure brands. Faced with building market presence fast with limited budget and a small team, Colt turned to AI agents. What happened next? In this episode, Colt shares how AI is automating workflows, amplifying influence, unlocking executive thought leadership, and reshaping what marketers actually do. If you're wondering what it really means to collaborate with AI agents, not just deploy them, this conversation is your blueprint. So, let's go. Colt Briner, author of The Race to Relevance, is a distinguished B2B Marcom executive with over 25 years of experience and has been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, Exhibitor Magazine, and Fast Company. As the founder of Scrappy Marketing and a Finney Award-winning marketer, Colt has been pivotal in supporting multiple 9-figure B2B brands across various industries. He's currently the CMO of Trend Health Partners, and his team has leaned into AI agents, and he's here to talk about the experience. Colt, welcome to the show.
Brother, thank you, man. Glad to be here.
It's an honor, because we're out here wondering what the AI agents are doing, and I was speaking to Colt a couple weeks ago, and he just briefly talked about what was going on, and I said, "Stop! You're coming on the show." So, recently joined Trend Health Partners. You're using AI, and what you're saying is the quality of some of this, the outputs is outperforming what has come traditionally from humans. So just for the listeners who want to move from curiosity to application, talk about your experience. Can you walk us through how it emerged and evolved inside your team? And just start there.
Well, I can start with how we got to where we are. We had 3 companies came together, backed by a private equity group, to merge and form what ultimately is the modern day Trend. Each of the 3 companies had their own marketing departments before that merger took place, before those 3 came together. 2 to 3 people each. And then you end up with the final entity with a marketing department of 2. So you took, I think, 8 people and turned them into 2 in a bigger company.
Right.
And the only way that that's possible, between myself and my cohort in the department, we think of it as a department of 4. There's me, there's her, then there's my bots, and there's her bots. So, between those sort of 4 entities, 2 human and 2 digital, that's how we're able to get the work done. And I just went through this with GPT. Like, can you tell me what a company in the $60 to $80 million revenue range that's growing at 30% a year should have, what the marketing department should look like? And it's showing me, it's like, well, you would generally have 9 to 12 people in that department. I'm like, okay, well, that's clearly not what's happening.
I like that optimism from the GPT, though. There should be 12 people here.
That's adorable.
No, so you figured that out. Your AI curiosity just developed off this gig, or both of you came with sort of a curiosity, or was this gig the catalyst for it?
I mean, the gig was the catalyst for sure. It was, capture market share, significant market share from billion-dollar industry incumbents, and do it quickly. Like, okay, boss, what's the budget?
Right.
That's a terrible budget.
Again.
So then, it's myself and my colleague going to figure out, well, how could we possibly get that done? And, the emergent answer at that time, because we were trying to figure this out about a year and a half ago is where this started. And the capabilities just coming onto the scene through, Bard and GPT and Grammarly, and like the list we use between her, she uses, I think, 4. I have my own 4-ish on a given day that we're all using.
Yeah.
And that's what made it possible to kind of accomplish the throughput necessary.
And so this is great. You have these skills. You're kind of multimodal. You're going in between things naturally. So you're not some spring chicken here. But Well, the rubber hit the road. I mean, you have used these agents to create work and send it out on behalf. Talk more about this moment where it was outperforming
Yeah.
the output from human counterparts. Give us that example.
Well, one of the key things in the strategy that we're using at Trend is thought leadership, right? Content creation, content marketing. But as with any company, the availability of the real intelligence in the organization, which is going to be, your operators, your frontline, your senior executives, it's just hard to get their time.
Yeah.
So what we've been able to do is, rather than try to offload writing the content to a junior copywriter, which doesn't really produce expertise, it just produces content. We've created a flywheel for engaging the subject matter experts inside the organization in a way that's very lightweight to them, but still produces articles that capture the best of their subject matter expertise, right? Their current everyday, like real world cutting edge knowledge, captures them from a personality standpoint, but doesn't have them sitting down to write the paragraph by paragraph output. So we do a half-hour interview intake based
Nice.
on the topic that we're covering with them, just like really rapid fire questions to get their intelligence, to get their insights, to get that whatever would be revelatory and inaccessible through somebody else in the marketplace, just going to GPT to ask questions, right? So what do we know that GPT doesn't have?
Ooh.
Get that out of the human in the organization.
Hmm.
And we use transcribers, right? So AI transcribers would take the transcripts and work with AI content producers to draft outlines. We take those outlines back to the SME. How does this look? Does this look directionally correct for you? Are we heading in the right path based on what you laid out for us? Yes or no? Tiny tweaks here and there. If we need occasionally a significant direction change, we'll get on the phone for another 10 minutes. Yeah, I want you to take, and I'm transcribing that, right? And I'm using that to figure out, okay, based on this input, how are we going to tweak this? And based on how this person communicates and their colloquialisms, et cetera, how do we draft this out? And we start producing the written work, right? So we get the output from GPT now in the paragraph form and say, all right, how does this look? We want to maybe more like a Harvard Business Review article. Can we move in that direction? We want to go more comedic. Can we move in that direction? And just start to influence that and then take that output. And now we're going through it, myself and my colleague, for just telling the right story in the right way to the right audience. Is it lined up with our voice as a brand, et cetera? So, all the checks that we would produce or go through, send that back to the SME. How do you like your article? Yes or no? And then we publish it under their name.
And so what I counted there was no less than 4 loops of humans.
Yeah.
And so was the agentic thing, or I'm sorry, the agents and agentic are 2 different things.
Right. Yes.
Is anybody wondering why this isn't automated more? Is somebody like coming back to you? I mean, I'm pretty sure you're thankful that you have these moments where you can say, you do your work, but I need to check it. I'm going to actually check with someone else who's going to check it.
Yeah.
I just think that's so smart, and that seems super slow, like, I mean, what's your thought there? I mean, like, you're moving faster than you ever could.
Yeah.
And yet when I hear you saying this, I'm just like, man, shouldn't this be automated? Is somebody just like,
Yeah.
it's cool, man, but why does it take so long? Are you feeling that?
It's really true. And the pathways to automate and accelerate they're just like right here. I'm like one step left from my desk and one step right. I could totally do that. The thing that I'm trying to preserve is genuine revelatory subject matter expertise.
Right.
So from the brains of the people who are making it happen and inventing the technologies and applying the new strategies, best practices, tactics, executables from the real world that aren't in articles today, does not exist in the corpus of knowledge that an AI can draw from. I have to keep that element real. And I'm also trying to keep that authenticity, that this is the real voice of real people. Here's the picture of the person who wrote this article, meaning it is their ideas, it's their voice, it's their personality. Yeah, it's a ghostwriting element being handled by AIs, but between the necessity to be genuinely revelatory and moving the collective of the market's knowledge forward and the importance in the modern day to be genuinely human, I'm not going to go faster.
I love that. I love that. And so agents, um, I mean, have you found ways to sort of speed this thing up
Yeah,
in small places? Like, I mean, from your perspective, I mean, marketers are looking for, help on all the workflows,
totally.
maybe, reporting, audience segmentation. I like how you're using it to find more insights, things that you can't find in a training
That's
set,
right.
you know?
That's right.
Um, so, I mean, you ensure the balance of automation and human oversight. Um, so what do you think is something that doesn't necessarily have to have that human oversight, or where do you see automation
Yeah,
taking a place? Maybe speak more to the agent.
sure, can do. We set up several tasks,
Mm,
automated tasks that run on a regular basis.
there you go. Yeah.
With a group this small, with a team this small, there are things that I would categorize under just pure brute force that you can't do unless, 3 years ago you had a bunch of humans to do it, or now you can set up automated tasks to get it done. I'll give you three examples. One is in the industry that I'm operating in, which is the back office of American healthcare. There's dozens of publishers, e-magazines, sources of information, and countless online articles coming out every week.
A lot of
I
marketing
have read
material.
not marketing material. No, this is like these are from the trade publications that are looked after and subscribed to by the industry leaders that need to know the
Hey
latest greatest of
now.
what's going on.
Okay. Media. Okay,
So
keep going.
totally right. So I have a bot set up to read every article that comes out in this industry every week, and then tell me of the articles that got published, which would be appropriate and meaningful for my company to have an opinion on or to contribute to in a meaningful way. So it first reads everything, which I don't have the time to do, and then second identifies where are the conversations taking place that we belong in, and can give me an indication of, probably based on all the information that I've given it about the brand, this would probably be the direction of commentary you would add to this conversation. Then I could take that and hand it to one of our executives, probably C-suite or VP level executives, and say, this was the article. This is and I obviously double check what the suggestion is for what our commentary might be or the direction that we might contribute. Put that in front of that person. Can you give me a selfie recording of your version of this commentary about this article? So again, I'm getting real commentary from a subject matter expert, and I'm getting that authenticity of the human recording. And then I can get that published in either the comment threads of that article on the journal publication that it's on, if that's happening in like a chat room or a blog environment. I can get it published there. So I'm getting the visibility of the brand because I have command over what is being discussed in the industry through using these bots. I can also use these bots to track what my competitors are saying. So now I get to see articles, journals, comments, posts, LinkedIn, whatever that's coming out of my competitors, and understand what's happening. And if there is cause for me to be a contributor in those conversations, I can do that. And then third, when we see that there are comments coming from our prospects, right? So from an account-based marketing standpoint, what are they posting, commenting on, trade shows that they're going to, or what have you? Again, we just don't have the brute force capacity to track these things. But if we set up bots on automated cycles to come back and report to us from 100% of everything that's being published down to the 3% that we need to be aware of, that's a massive time saver that wasn't even accessible from a human standpoint, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, what have you.
Yeah.
And now these brute force strategies are available because they're tireless AIs that can execute on them.
So, man, the whole time you're talking, I'm thinking about marketing and I'm thinking about advertising, and I'm thinking this is probably the smartest, coolest way that I've heard somebody using this tech to actually take their finger and put it on the pulse of living bodies. Because I think we're all taking the pulse of corpses. It's like, that's the past, man. Like, we just moved on, and you're like, well, I'm giving mouth to mouth to this zombie. What you need to do is figure out what people are saying and
Yeah.
be where they're saying it and listening to it. And then I was thinking, like, your trade publication things, the conversations that you're talking about, the way you interject actual expertise inside the conversation only makes this whole thing better. And
Yeah.
it's new advertising. I was thinking, like, you could have Colt, your ghostwriting, or maybe one of your executives is leaving these things, or are you doing it as the
Yeah, that's
marketing
right.
team? Yeah.
No,
So
we will have the executive post it. Yeah.
so I love that, but what I'm seeing now is sort of that the highway is happening in the comments. The highway is
Yeah.
happening on headlines, and I don't ignore out of home. Please do your billboards, but if you don't have this money, you need to find a way to be memorable and
That's
have
right.
recall happen. And it just seems like if you can find the relevant topics, and this goes right to our next question, but you can find ways to gauge these things and be seen where you need to be seen. And this is new
Right.
advertising. This is new marketing. This is
Yes.
just marketing. It's just smart. You're just a smart guy. So, but you're
Hey,
not only smart.
key guidance, just a real quick on this, because I could see people just off and running like, great, I'm going to go do that. Thanks, guys. Just be, just make sure that this is not selling. This is
Mm,
contributing, right? So add intelligence, bring an insight, something revelatory. Be controversial if you want to. Be the counter voice if you want to. Like, those things are contributive too. Just don't tell me to come see your demo.
well,
You just totally blew it.
here's another question for people that might be equally excited. The executives or the VP levels that you're talking about, when you ask them for these things, the initial response was like, I don't have time, and now it's better. I'm totally jumping ahead, but how are they making
Yes.
time for this? Because that seems like the biggest barrier. If somebody would want to do this, is finding those executives that are down. How did you kind of get
Dude,
curry favor?
I
Did you
love this
show them?
question.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love this question. So the clear feedback we're getting is you made this so easy, right? So that's the first thing.
that's
The second
nice.
thing is the organization has a little over 300 people. So our available pool of SMEs is pretty deep.
Mhm.
So we're not hitting anybody up,
Multiple
more than once
times.
about 3 months, maybe 4 months even.
Hmm.
You don't hear back from me for, we got to do our article again. So
Yeah.
that's pretty lightweight, and yet we're still able to get a lot of content out there. And as far as, here's some commentary I want you to post on LinkedIn, they're all well educated because we educated them on the value of having personal brand.
Mm.
But they are much like you said, hey, I don't have time to do that, Cole. Could you do it for me? Like, sure, we'll do it for you. Here's what you should probably be posting.
But meanwhile, no, but I love it because there's different speeds for different folks. I think a lot of
For
this
real.
advice is like, oh man, I have the fastest car. And you're like, well, you have to know a couple things about cars, roads, driving, so there's different levels of expertise and willingness, but I love that you found a way to engender the spirit of marketing, and then you get your team to really feel it, and then you're able to automate that. I mean, this is great. So let's pivot now. You wrote this amazing book, The Race to Relevance, and
Mm.
it seems like what you just described was, not anti-selling, because folks, if you think Colt isn't doing this to sell something and market this company, you're a fool. But what he's doing is putting the right English, putting the right spin on it, maybe tying it to things that aren't necessarily financial metrics traditionally associated with success. And in your book, you're covering those things. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to be relevant, you have to make sure you're running the right race, you're measuring yourself on the right yardstick.
Heck
Employee
yeah.
fulfillment, ethical pride, like pride of ownership. You know what I mean? Like,
For real.
I'm just happy to work here. You can't put that on a spreadsheet. So, what, give us the reason why you wrote that book, and then tell us
Mhm.
how AI is sort of meeting or conflicting or overlapping or leveraging this moment.
Appreciate that question. So I wrote the book because I had a front row seat to a profound experience watching what purpose could do inside a company to take it from uh, a mid-stage startup to a unicorn, privately owned company worth more than $1 billion, and the role that purpose played in that growth. I mean, just phenomenal growth. That happened in the course of less than 2 years. Like, it just blew me away. The rate at which that company was hiring, and they got to 60% market share, 60. And it was just like, how the heck did this happen, right? So just being able to watch that and sort of, I became a disciple in the Church of Purpose, as I like to say. And I, I read all the books, started to go to the lectures, reading all the articles, whatever, and decided to create what I call my Indiana Jones's journal to the treasure here. Like what does that look like and how do you get that done? So that's that's what the book is. And just in terms of the kind of measures that we're talking about, you're right on it. It's like, how meaningful is the purpose to each individual? Do they understand how their job is contributing to the accomplishment of that goal? This is that story that's told about JFK's tour of NASA and his first tour. Have you heard this story?
No,
I don't even know if this is true, but
regale us with this tall tale.
Oh, here I regale. He shows up at NASA and he's on the tour again. I don't know if this is legend or what. And on his way to the tour, he passes down this hallway, passes the janitor.
Yeah.
Asked the janitor, what do you do here? He says, I'm helping to put a man on the moon, right? Like that's a really great example of what a truly purpose-driven organization looks like. If you ask me about how do AIs in the marketing space impact those kinds of energies, I think if you've established each person has clarity of the role that they're playing in the bigger picture of what the company's trying to accomplish, and they do three things. One is they make an effort to become aware of the newest capabilities of AIs, like consistently become aware of the newest capabilities. Because if you knew the capabilities last Tuesday, you don't know the capabilities today.
Yeah.
Number two is to produce hypotheses. Okay, I know what it can do. I think this is how that would work in my department based on what we're doing to achieve the company's mission. And then three is to take those hypotheses and to put them into action with your own workflows or the workflows of your team.
End story done.
Yeah, do it every month at least.
Well, I think there is something self-awareness. I think just kind of taking a step back and saying, yo, hold on, wait, whoa. Is there a way that AI could help you hit the pause button when anybody asks this thing to help it pause?
Wow. I mean, I love this question. The importance of pause. I am starting to really, really appreciate the importance of pause, like at a human level. It would seem to me that the thesis behind the creation of these AIs is not one that was built in the recognition of the importance of pausing. Unfortunately, it was built in the recognition of growth at all costs. And
action.
Let's go. Productivity and growth at all costs. So I think this is an emergent technology from the mindset of growth and productivity at all costs, and it makes sense. And in that mindset, it is a phenomenal achievement. In the greater view, the holistic view of the human experience, I think it's potentially problematic.
And is it sort of this way in which we're talking about roles are changing, jobs are changing, tasks are changing, upskilling, just like what you said. I mean, this next question is about how do we learn? Is it learning or is it adapting? I mean, it does feel like it's just more of an adaptation and less an education. But the thing I love about you is you're using this high-flying tech grounded in embodied experience, expertise. This is, you can start here and then do whatever you want up here. And you can, it's high flying. I mean, there's no way you're going to be able to crush all of these publications, global publications every day. There's no way you could do it. There's no way you could analyze this data set. There's no way, but there is a way now and you can do that, but you got to know where you're going. You got to know what you need. How are you learning about those new things like that? You just said Tuesday's knowledge is out of date. Right. How are you staying up on that? How do you stay fresh? Yeah.
So There's a few questions in there. I'll try to get to the first one, the
Sorry, I
upskilling
jammed
question.
it. That was a tamale of a question. Sorry.
So on the upskilling, it's a fascinating experience for me because it's not upskilling in increased productivity of all the activities that we used to undertake. It's recognizing that we now can work as humans in the best capabilities of humans, meaning where can I add human connection in this? Make it something that people could relate to
Hmm.
from a human existential level. Make it
Hmm.
something that people can relate to because there's humor and personality in it. Where can I find authenticity in what we're creating and in our brand and in our voice? And it's like, these are things that I would say AI is still not good at. Still not
Hmm.
good at. Doesn't mean it won't be soon, but if there's upskilling to be done, that's the direction of upskilling that matters to me.
Well, so, and I love that because it's very interesting. You came on here to give us a class on like AI agents, talk about your experience, but what I'm taking away from this is you have roots. And I think a lot of us are frittering around with the leaves and the twigs. But you have a trunk and you have roots, and it's established in the organization. I need to suck up all the nutrients, all of the intelligence that's happening here, and I need to be the broadcast for it. But you've brought so much of yourself to this. You're saying that upskilling might be of the self. What advice do you have on people on increasing those roots in the organization, like kind of becoming indispensable, sort of thinking of yourself as a crawly, thing, like, man,
Yeah.
Colt's everywhere. If you're a marketer and you're not everywhere, oh, you might not be there tomorrow. So what's your advice there on becoming sort of this, I don't know, man, like you have a fungal spore energy
Right on. Thank you for that.
in a
I think it
nice
has to
way?
be. I appreciate that. I'm down. I can dig the
Okay,
mushrooms.
it's fine.
Um, I think it has to be kind of from a core philosophy standpoint,
Mm,
recognizing that more and more the mission of marketers, marketing leaders is to find the nuggets of authenticity, to find the threads of genuine human connection. Where do they exist in the organization? What do people actually care about? How do you find a connection that isn't purely intellectual or transactional as
mm,
you exchange information, produce content, and if you orient your mind to what you were just talking about, how do I become the threads in the organization? How do I dig deep enough to find the rich veins of gold that are here?
mm.
To build my radar and then to dig where that is and to find it and to pull it out and to polish these uncut diamonds into real gems that the market would be like, man, I got to make sure that the next time this brand publishes something that I get it, because every time I open this newsletter, it's saving me time. It's advancing my career. It's making me laugh. It's making me feel something. Like that has to be how your audience is responding when you're putting something in front of them.
Cole is so special, people. The people at Trend, they must know how lucky they are, but you are a very unique person because you have a solid head on business, and you are so funny. You have the funniest sense of humor. You are not afraid to be silly. And before we were talking, we were like, there's a bit of stupidity that is
Yeah.
going to help you in this moment. Do
Yes.
do, do you want to maybe talk a little bit about that? Because I mean, I think your intellectual humility, there's cool words for it, but maybe speak about that beginner mindset, or maybe just a little bit more about that.
That actually was really hard for me.
Mm,
I struggled with this. I struggled with because oftentimes I was with, well, I was always with small companies, and oftentimes I was a marketing team of one, and I had to be the guy who knew.
right.
So there was a lot of fake it till you make it in the pathway of this
Sure.
career. I mean, just
Yeah.
being completely honest, and
Yeah.
until I had enough under my belt that I could say, I know how to do this. I know how to do the core things about what I'm doing that I could say I would be able to now confidently walk around and say, I don't know anything about that or that or that or that, because that wasn't going to impact what I was concerned about, which when people would look back at me and say, why do we have this guy in this role? Right. So
Right.
once I felt like I had something like my own solid little island to stand on and say, okay, I'm
Mm,
comfortable that I've been able to deliver. now I can just go and be an idiot. Let me just be the stupid guy in the room. And it was a real difference. And because I just did not feel safe doing that for a long time.
My heart goes out to you. I haven't felt that. I'm stupid first. But it's sort of disarming for a lot of people. They're like, oh, or a little disconcerting, but I never worry about those people. But
I'll get to the second year working with somebody and not be afraid to say, what do we sell again?
Well, wouldn't you want to have that honesty? Wouldn't you want to
Yes.
have this communication? And a lot of people are saving that for their chats. They're
Right.
okay to look stupid in front of the AI. I think maybe one of the takeaways is don't be afraid to look dumb in front of people first, and then
Yes.
use technology to come back and look like a screaming lion of, genius. Because I think that's what you're saying is like, I don't know enough about this. I want to learn more. And I'm going
Yeah.
to keep asking. And you just a genius. But here, two
Yep.
last questions before we get
Okay.
wrap this up. You're talking about ROI. They see you using AI. We're talking about efficiency. We're talking about productivity gains. How are you measuring ROI of the AI, or is it just sort of like we would have had a team of 12, so we're saving all this? Is it like reverse math, or how are you? Is anybody asking for the ROI on AI?
I'll run that math in reverse and forward, backward, and sideways just because I love doing that. Um, so it starts with understanding what the industry benchmark is for how much a company roughly like your own would be spending, and just being able to reflect, we're doing this on a fraction of the budget. And I said, well, are you making the kind of progress they need to be making? Which is the right next question.
Right.
If you have a growth target, let's say your growth target is 30% year over year, and you're going to need XYZ number of MQLs coming into the top of the pipe, that's a really straightforward yes or no. Are they coming in or not coming in? So that's a great measure to see, is this working? I also quite like how much did it cost you to put an MQL into top of pipe? So cost per MQL is a great metric. Even better would be cost per $1,000 added to top of pipe, right? So how much did it cost you to put $1,000 worth of opportunity in the top of pipe? And if you can go further, when you start to get into MQL quality, like high, medium, and low MQL quality, ultimately, how much did it cost the company to get a booked $1,000, right? So then you can really get a sense of how efficient your pipeline is from A to Z, including the portion of it that marketing is responsible for. So I think of it as two pillars, right? There's the MQL, that's going to get us to the revenue, and then the other side is, how well is your brand known? What is the market perception? Do they know who you are? Are you in the conversations where I've never heard of you, or are you in the, oh yeah, I know you guys, tell me more, right? Which is where you want the company to be. So these are classic measures. You're looking at impressions and opens and likes and shares and comments, and the kinds of things that you would get out of digital marketing campaigns. But it's also market sentiment, right? So when you get your team out there at the conference events, industry events, you have to be debriefing with them every time they come back. How is it going? Do people know who we are?
Oh man, what? Colt, everybody wants to hire you now, but you can't because he's taken, ladies. Here, what you have given us so much to think about. That last thing, you stripped it down to the studs. Pay attention, kids. I hope you brought a tote bag because you're going to have some leftovers from this episode. If you had to crunch all of this down and consolidate it into a fine compote that we could sprinkle over this episode and serve,
Salty this guy.
something. What is your one piece of advice to the audience? They're staring at AI agents. They're staring at AI. What is Colt telling them?
This one actually comes from our head of AI at Trend. It's forget fast.
Say more.
Forget fast. Yeah, well, I mean, you might have been in an initiative where you guys were like, okay, let's try AI, let's try automation, and that was 18 months ago. Forget it. You don't know nothing, right? The conclusions that you reached about what AI could do, and then it back when it was a tool instead of literally a member of your team. It's a completely different world. And even if you have a sense of what the member of your team could do, 1 quarter ago, you're completely out of date. Just forget fast. But there is one more thing that I would like to share.
Yes.
which is just like, we're going to set ourselves up for a whole new conversation some other time, which is, I do believe that the Genie always extracts a price. And we have been summoning a lot of Genie these days. And when all the stories, whenever the Genie grants a wish, there's some back end cost that you got to pay somehow, some way down the line. And I do believe that the Reaper's coming
in some way. But if you have someone like Colt to help ground you, anchor you, be that lighthouse, and then what his main piece of advice that I'm taking away is, be the lighthouse for someone else. Be that thing that somebody reads and says, damn, I didn't think about that. Be that thing, because it's about you. And if people want to connect with you, Colt, read this book, hang out with you, how can they do that?
Appreciate you asking. Yeah, easy way to find me, Colt Briner on LinkedIn. I'd love to take any messages and start conversations. Anybody who wants to talk about this stuff, man, I'm all day. I'm all day.
Cheese or chocolate?
Are you ready?
Go.
Okay. Cheese or chocolate?
With chocolate.
Okay, you already answered, but whatever. Lava lamps or blacklight posters?
A black light poster, yeah.
Okay. All right. Fine. Good. Wow. This is the speed round. Hiking or biking?
Biking. Anytime I see a hiker, I think they're just trying to find their bike.
That poor person lost their bike.
We should go help them.
Great answer. Rake leaves or blow them?
Definitely blow the leaves. Yeah. Big that.
Oh, you're going to be getting mail. Okay, here we go. Robes. Are they necessary, or is this a useless extravagance?
Robes. I'm for sure on robes. Yes. Yes.
I don't even know Colt anymore.
I would blow leaves in a robe.
Get that image in your head and then try to have AI burn it from there, because it can't. It's hard-coded now. Just seeing you out there. Okay. No, it's fine. I don't mind it. Okay. Last, maybe contentious, might not be. Reese's Pieces or M&Ms?
Pick them into the Reese's.
You're into it. Did you think about that?
I did. I put a good like 2% on that. I would say I'm into the Reese's. I'm not. Okay, we talk about peanut M&Ms.
Hey, now, I just said M&Ms. I thought that maybe, but you're right to question.
Okay, because if it's peanut M&Ms, I think I'm going that route.
Me too.
Yeah.
Oh, so we're best friends?
Oh my God.
It's you. It's me. Oh, we're brothers.
Brothers got a hug.
Brothers got a hug.